Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Enter the Beast Lord. Rakarth of Karandkar takes flight atop his dragon as he faces off against his accursed foes, the Aesir, in this Warhammer World Championship matchup between Alrik on the Dark Elves and Bowmore commanding the High Elves. So for the Dark Elf army, of course, we do have Rakarth here, going to be making his debut on the channel just following his release. So he is going to be bringing the Beast Armor of Karandkar, which if there is a large entity in his ability range, which is 30 meters, he does get plus 10 melee defense and plus 11 damage resistance to boot. Of course, he is on his dragon and he gets whiplash as well. So if the target is large, he does get a nice, he can give a nice charge speed, base weapon damage, armor piercing weapon damage, and a charge bonus. And then he also has the Whip of Agony. So against enemy forces, he is able to remove fear and terror and minus 24 melee defense as well, as long as they are a large unit and are not a lord or hero. Now, the also interesting thing about Rakarth up on his dragon is he has a nice little bonus versus large. So this bonus versus large definitely going to be helping a lot in these duels with other dragons, specifically against the High Elves. So it gives him a nice little 15 bonus versus large in that department. Rest of the forces is going to be some Harpies. We have a front line of Dread Spears, Bleak Swords going to be thrown across the line, and the traditional Reaper Bolt Throwers as well in this matchup. So there's going to be 3 units of those going to be taking their position up on this ridge here and are going to be trading with the Aesir of Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers. For the rest of the army, we do have a Sorceress of Fire going to be coming on in with looks like Burning Head and the Cascading Fire Cloak by the looks of things, giving a nice little bit of melee defense and armor piercing weapon damage, and of course Burning Head, very nice indeed. Gonna be able to roast some archers, spearmen, or I guess even those rangers. There would be some nice decent targets. We have some Coldwood Knights, the Knights of the Ebon the Dread Knights ROR, and then we have some more Coldwood Knights on the far side. Pretty standard army for the Dark Elves, with the exception of Rakarth, going to be making his debut, seeing how it affects the matchup here. Now for the High Elf army, we do have the Fireborn here to contend the mobility core for the Dark Elves, and of course they have their own Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers. A pair of those can be firing away at the opponent's front line is going to be Rangers. They'll trade much better into the Bleak Swords and the Dread Spears of the Dark Elves, and then we do have some mobile ranged as well, with some Melee Reaver Archers going to be roaming the battlefield, some Spearmen on the flanks. We have some Lothern Sea Guard as well, and one of the regular archers. For the Lord, it is going to be Alariel the Radiant. She is going to be rolling in. She does have Tempest, so against Rakarth, that's actually going to be a very nice little ability to be bringing here. He also has Earthblood with Arcane Conduit and the Star of Avalorn, which of course you're always pretty much going to be seeing on Alariel. Very powerful ability there, and she has the Shield Stone Visha, giving plus 12 physical resist in an AoE around her, and the Boon Visha, which does give Immunopsychology and magical damage in an area around her as well. And then there is going to be a Sun Dragon up in the sky, going to be looking to contend Rakarth, and with that Tempest might very well be possible, especially with the additional Archer Fire that can be helping out in that engagement. Considering the only range department for the Dark Elves is going to be those Reaper Bolt Throwers, it is going to be a little interesting to see how that does fare. So let's get things rolling, as both sides are about to clash. The Living Reaver Archer is going to be pushing forward here, not really having a whole lot to fear in the terms of range. So they're going to be able to just kind of continue skirmishing, while the rest of the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers just trades with those Reaper Bolt Throwers, just trying to get the advantage there. Now, the Sorceress of Fire doesn't have Fireball here, so not going to be able to help out in terms of sniping out any of the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, but they're just going to have to rely on the superior numbers of the Reaper Bolt Throwers, and they are trading well. They've already taken out one of the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers. However, the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers are still just doing damage to the crew. They haven't taken out any of the models just yet. And the Fireborn looking to get a charge into these Bleak Swords, but are going to be thinking against that, as the Coldwood Knights do get or just start charging through their own unit, and those Fireborn will pull right on back. Going to be looking to get a different engagement here, but it looks like we are going to be seeing one of the Tempest going down. This might just outright finish off these Harpies. It is going to be doing a ton of damage to these guys, and there is no way for these guys to dodge it at this point. There's nowhere for them to attack, but it looks like they are able to maintain at least a decent amount of HP following that. They did get mighty low. An overcasted version may have actually finished them off there. That was just a regular cast for that Tempest. And the Fireborn once again thinking against their charge as Rakarth does make his move. And now that Tempest has been cast, he can be a lot more aggressive in this department. And a Burning Head going to be going right through these Rangers, roasting a few of them, but with their spread out formation, and definitely going to be helping in that regard. Though it is going to be continuing right on down the line, and is going to be hitting the second unit there. And on that one, it is actually going to be doing some considerable damage. It almost takes them down to half health. And at this point, the High Elves, they are going to want to be engaging here. They are going to be losing this artillery duel, so they need to move forward with all of their infantry. They will actually win these engagements if those Rangers do get in line before they are getting taken apart too much by like the Cold One Knights or any of the Burning Heads that Sorceress of Fire has been casting. But they really do need to get engaged. They need to start pressing their advantage in that melee department, especially with the assistance of the Fireborn, that Sun Dragon, who is going to have to be a little careful, but with, of course, the assistance of these the archers and those storm riders. The Lothern Seaguard ROR, I actually did not notice them at first. Breath Attack trying to go against the Fireborn is going to be missing. However, a Tempest just go off on him, but seeing that Tempest coming, Rakarth is going to be dropping down on top of these Fireborn, dodging that damage there. It is going to be taking a bit of a speed reduction, but just dropping down is going to give it a nice lower profile, even though all these archers are now focusing him down. The Fireborn did take a lot of damage off that charge, as all of the Dark Elf cavalry did kind of charge in as well. A nice Breath Attack from the Sun Dragon coming on in, hitting these Cold One Knights, taking a nice chunk of their HP off, and Rakarth does take to the sky, looking to be engaging. He does pop that Whip of Agony, reducing the melee defense, but he is taking a ton of damage from all of these ranged units on the High Elves. But a Burning Head goes through, going to be getting dodged by the most part by these Storm Riders. Nice little dodge there, and Rakarth is going to be pulling back to lick his wounds, definitely taking a ton of unwanted damage from all of these archers. Valkonos is in the High Elf favored here at this point. But as the longer things go on, and the more time that all of these mobile units on the Dark Elves are able to kind of do their thing, they are going to be slowly gaining that advantage. They do have the advantage, of course, now in the long range, as the Reaper Bolt Throwers have been able to push off all of the Reaper, or the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, and now with Murderous Prowess popped, all of these Dark Elf units beginning a nice little bonus to their engagements, as well as they do get that charge bonus, melee attack, armor piercing, missile damage, additional leadership, and vigor. However, the Fireborn have been able to deal with one of the Cold One Knights. There are still 2 units, very healthy and raring to go. Now, they do lack that healing capacity that the High Elves do have, so that Star of Avalorn is definitely going to be very, very helpful. However, the Fireborn have taken a ton of damage and are continuing to take damage, and if they take any too much more, they are going to be shattering here. They do pop an Earthblood, or trying to get an Earthblood off, but it doesn't even hit the Fireborn. Unfortunate cast on that end. It is going to be hitting some other units instead, and it does look like that is going to be all she wrote for the Fireborn for the most part. 3 units left, and they are going to be hightailing it for the edge of the map. But one of the Eagle Bolt Throwers has come back online. Only has 1 unit left, but it is going to be targeting Rakarth, doing a nice little bit of damage. But he is going to be dropping down on top of these Rangers in that backline, looking to get them off the field. He is getting them pretty low, and they should be routing right on off the field. And with the Fireborn gone, and even that Sun Dragon, the mobile core for the Dark Elves is definitely going to be having the advantage here in that late game. With all the ammunition spent on the Living Reavers, they are going to now start getting into that backline, able to jump on top of all of the Lothern Seaguard, the archers, and all this stuff, get them pushed off. And with the range gone, the Sun Dragon gone, Fireborn gone, Rakarth is going to have a nice easy time. He's going to get a nice breath attack onto Alariel the Radiant. He's going to be hitting his Sorceress of Fire a little bit more, and even the Knights of the Ebon Claw. But now he will be diving right on in himself. He does pop Whiplash on him, giving himself that additional base weapon damage, armor piercing, and he is going to be able to put Alariel right into the grave very, very quickly, shattering her outright. And that is pretty much going to be all she wrote, as the Dark Elves take a very quick comeback here. Things were looking a little dicey for them initially, but with some very nice engagements, they quickly swing that balance power in their favor. And that is going to be it for Game 1. Dark Elves do take it. So let's take a look at that after battle report, and we'll update the scorecard as well. Alrik are all taken Game 1. So take a look here at just how things did. So let's start with the Dark Elves this time, with Rakarth rocking on in 2,900 in total value. Bonus versus large definitely coming in handy against that Sun Dragon, as well as Lariel even in that late game with that Whiplash popped. The bonus versus large, he was able to put a lot of damage towards her very, very quickly, and getting her to shatter very fast in that department. Knights of the Ebon Claw also doing very well, 2200, and the rest of the Cold One Knights not really doing all too well. This one did do 900, but the Ebon Claw, very, very nice work indeed. Able to probably do most of that damage was against the Fireborn, I imagine, as a Fireborn, unfortunately, only 406 for them. Rest of the forces, all the Bleak Swords, not really expecting to do a whole lot here, just kind of a bunch of chaff infantry, just kind of holding that line for the most part, and allowing the mobile units for the Dark Elves to really do the heavy lifting. And then even the Reaper Bolt Throwers, though, did do quite well. Having the superior numbers traded very well into those Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, and a little luck with the RNG as well, because they were, I think this unit still had some models left in terms of artillery pieces. And yeah, the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers on the other side, just a little too overwhelmed. And then having those units just be able to fire into like the Sun Dragon, the Dragonborn, and the stuff after they have dealt with the artillery on the high elf side really helped with that. Sun Dragon doing some decent damage, but not quite enough to pay for itself. Iron Reaver's doing all right. And then even the Storm Riders, they did quite well, getting over 1,000. Even the regular archers getting 850 as well. And a lot of that was into Rakarth. He did have to be a lot more cautious when he took a lot of that damage early on, because he did not have the benefit of having that life lore magic, unlike Alariel and the High Elves. Given that Star of Avalorn and that Earthbloods really did help with that Star Dragon. But otherwise, the rest of the forces, they definitely need to press their advantage, I think, a little bit earlier than they did. They took a lot of damage, especially one of the Rangers taking that Burning Head, lost a lot of its HP, and those Rangers would have just made mince work of the Bleak Swords and the Dread Spears. Unfortunately, I think they were just a little too cautious with that initial engagement. Seeing that they were outnumbered, they should have immediately kind of pressed forward against the Dark Elves, and maybe a little bit more in the mobile. I mean, one Dragonborn is easily going to get overwhelmed by 3 of the Knights from the Dark Elves, especially when one of those is the Knights of the Ebon Claw. Dread Knight's very scary unit to be facing off against. But that's going to be it for Game 1 of this Best of 3 series. Let's get on in to Game 2. We don't need no stinking orcs. The Gobos of 8 Peaks will get her done. For this Game 2 matchup in the Warhammer World Championship, we have the Greenskins versus the Skaven. Alrik will be on Crooked Moon, and Bowmore will be commanding the Skaven. So for the Greenskin army, it is going to be a Gobbo build for sure, as we have the Night Goblins mixed in with the Warlord Boys, as well as the 8 Peak Loonies for the frontline troops. And we will have some nasty Skulkers as well on the 2 flanks here. 8 Peak Loonies, of course, have their Loons, while the Warlord Boys do have Armor Sundering and Immune to Psychology. In the trees, there are going to be a few more Gobbos sitting in there. We have some Night Goblin Fanatics, some more nasty Skulkers, and we have a Night Goblin War Boss who does have the lovely fermented fungi. He's going to be rolling on in. He also has the Tormentor Sword, which is a nice little net centered around himself, which also reduces the melee attack, so a bunch of control on his end. And of course, he does have Dabas's Loons. For spellcasting, it is going to be a Night Goblin Shaman. Looks like we have Curse of the Bad Moon there. Going to be rolling on in. It does give it a little bit of a debuff on top of its damage. Mostly it's for the debuff. It's so unreliable in terms of damage. We also have Itchy Nuisance, and of course he's bringing Wand of Jet with Vindictive Glare. We also have the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers sitting in the tree line. One of them is going to be the Night Goblin, or the Durkit Squigs, which does give themselves Scaly Skin, which is plus 25 missile resistance. And then for the rest of it, we also have an Arachnarok Queen, one of the only large units here, the thing with a bit of mass, at least something to have a little bit of stopping power in case there are some larger targets that need dueling. And it does have Fear and Terror, and it also has some Spider Hatchling Summons, which is very helpful, chasing down some Skaven and giving some nice rear charge penalties to boot. For the Skirmishers, we have some Forest Goblin Spider Riders with some Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. It's going to be a pretty fun build on Alrik's side. Now for the Skaven, we do have a couple of Wolf Rats on both flanks here. So we have some regular Wolf Rats and paired with the Wolf Rats with poison. So that does mean they're going to be mixing that poison with that armor piercing and magic damage. Magic damage not so important. They will be able to do some damage if there were some Savage Orcs, but that's not going to be the case here. And the armor piercing not going to be all too helpful either. But there is going to be Throt the Unclean. He is going to be rolling on in. He does have a Packmaster on the other side, but Throt is going to be bringing Master Controller, given that extra leadership and that extra melee defense. And then we have Remoldered, which gives plus 8 leadership, plus 24 melee attack, plus a nice little bit of healing, 2 charges of those. And we have Creature Killer, bound with that beast pack for that rat ogre summon. And there is also that Packmaster who is going to be bringing, looks like, Scrying Stone, as well as running with the pack that gives regen to Clan Molder units. For spellcasting, it is going to be a Plague Priest coming in with that Vermintide and that Pestilent Birth, which did get a nice little nerf. It costs 16 wins of magic now instead of the 14, I believe what it was before. Vermintide has remained the same. Otherwise, for the rest of the troops, we have Skaven Slaves mixed with some Clan Rats throughout. We also have Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers who do fire damage. And then some Clan Rat Spears going to be protecting those Poison Wind Mortar teams with the Pit Fighters of Hellsleep who do have that Berserk ability. Going to be roaming that back line, keeping things safe in addition to a little extra mobility and mass with those Wolf Rats. And that is going to be the armies. So let's get things rolling. Going to be a rather interesting matchup here, as most of the army on the greenskin side is going to be stocked, as we are going to be seeing here, all of those hidden flags across the board. So there's not going to be a whole lot of targets for these Poison Wind Mortars, but out of the tree line comes the rush of the Squigs, and the Arachnar Queen going to be using her to flank, as all of the Durgat Squigs going to be roaming that side, and the Wolf Rats are going to be responding in kind, seeing all that mobility on that side. They are going to be pulling all of their units to counteract this little flanking maneuver. Of course, that is going to open up the door to the back side with these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, and those Spider Rider Archers going to be able to go around the other side. But Poison Wind Mortar crews are going to be starting firing away, getting some hits in, doing some nice damage to these nasty skulkers, and landing amidst these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. Now, Poison Wind did get a little bit of nerf as well, so it's going to take a little bit more models per unit to hit to really get its damage in. But in comes the charge, and just as the Wolf Rats are about to be engaging, they do pull back there, and then so it's going to be a little game of cat, or I guess a game of chicken between these two, seeing who's going to be committing first, and really whoever gets the charge here is definitely going to be coming out on top. With both of the Packmaster and Throt here, they really can press their advantage into these Durgat Squigs, and of course you do have to worry about the Ragnar Queen, but you should be able to do some nice decent damage to those Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, who are mostly in bonus versus infantry and armor piercing. But in goes that Night Goblin Warboss, going to be getting everything nice and grouped up around him. This would be a very excellent spot for those loons. Dicey Skulkers are able to break those Skaven Slaves pretty quickly. Nothing too surprising on that end. And the back door is starting to get a little bit of pressure on that side, as all of these units are committed on this side. The Arachnar Queen going in with Throt, and it looks like all of these Durgat Squigs do actually win rather convincingly. So I did miss that charge there. So I guess that engagement is a little bit more one-sided than I did expect. So losing all of those Wolf Rats, especially these that are shattering, is going to be a major blow to the Skaven. But the Arachnar Queen is probably in the kind of the worst position, I say the best position for the Skaven, because she is going to be surrounded by all the Packmaster, the Summon, as well as I believe Creature Killer is also pop, giving bonus versus large to all of that. So that's going to be a major threat to her, but she hasn't really taken all too much damage. But the Curse of the Bad Moon does go down, going to be roaming through that backline, kind of going just off into nowhere right now, but it does give it a little bit of a debuff to those that it does end up hitting. Though these Night Goblins going to be looking to get into that backline. This kind of right flank of the Skaven is completely compromised at this point, and these Poison Wind Mortars are sitting wide open for the taking here, as these troops are now just trying to put some pressure on that back line. But you can see now in that back line that Arachnar Queen definitely taken quite a bit of damage, and Throt and that Packmaster are still sitting pretty healthy themselves, and they do have, of course, have that healing. We get another one of those Spider Hatchling summons. They're just trying to bog things down, but that Arachnar Queen definitely taken a major hit on that flank. So maybe that trade isn't all for naught, and a nice Poison Wind shots into all of these units here. Going to be clipping all the Force Gun Spider Riders, and actually going to be routing off some of these units as well, and wavering the rest. So things aren't necessarily looking super strong here for the Greenskins. Definitely that kind of the light infantry kind of looking to be hurting just a bit, but the Arachnar Queen going to be getting fully surrounded. The Fermented Fungi does go off on the Packmaster here, and that is going to be rampaging them and reducing their melee defense, so able to get some extra hits here. We do get one of the loons going off, actually the boss's loons, I do believe that is going to be hitting those Plague Monks. It is just a summon after all, but it is going to clean out some of that chaff unit at least a little bit. And yeah, things looking pretty sparse for the Greenskins, and that is freeing up these Poison Wind Mortar crews as well. They are going to be now free to fire in. And firing in the spot, maybe not necessarily the worst idea. They will hit a lot of their friendly units. And at this time, though, it is just single entity, so probably best to hold their fire, try and clean up these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, Force Goblin Spider Rider Archers, and just any of the outlying units. And it just uses kind of that range and mobility here for the Skaven to kind of clean things up. But the Ragnarok Queen with the Night Goblin Warboss definitely going to be trading kind of decently well into Throt with all of them here at this point, especially with the Spider Rider hatchings, though they do get terrified. So there's going to be a little bit of poison going away. But of course, the Ragnarok Queen does give that poison as well. And just all of these squigs are just kind of continually coming in, and as well as all the skirmish riders just continually firing in. And it's actually going to be lowering Throt down very, very low. He did pop his creature killer just before he went, but he does end up routing here. And there is a lot of mobility. Now, he does have 95 speed, so he should be able to pull back, though, of course, he is kind of closer to that white line. And that speed might not be exactly the best benefit for him. And maybe these Force Gun players, especially if they are going to be applying some bit of poison in the chase, they might be able to at least stay close enough to keep him routed. Otherwise, things are still looking fairly decent for the Skaven. All of these Poison Wind Mortars. We do get a summon of Clan Rats here just to kind of screen out these nasty Skulkers. And really, these Clan Rats should be able to keep them screened out and do some nice bit of damage in the process. All of the Skirmishers are in hot pursuit of Throt the Unclean, while the Packmaster has been able to put a major bit of damage into that Ragnarok Queen, going to be routing her off the field. And with his speed, he's almost at the ceiling cap, but with his speed, should definitely be able to chase that Ragnarok Queen right off the match and actually probably end up shattering her before anything else, because she does have the long way to go. And Throt, once again, is getting very, very low. He is taking a lot of shots from all these skirmishers, and they are in hot pursuit, routing him once again, and one more time, and that is going to be it for him. But he is going to be pulling out once more, and that nice little bit of regen, though, will help him come back, and he just is going to be able to outspeed all of these Greenskin skirmish cav. Poison Wind Mortar crews getting, again, some nice shots into these Goblin Wolf Rider archers, able to get a nice little bit of extra damage over time onto them. Night Goblins, though, able to slowly clean up the last of the infantry support for the Skaven, so it's pretty much just down to the mortars, and away goes Throt. He is finally shattered at this point with his third rout, so it is going to be down to the Packmaster, to, I believe, the Plague Monk is still around, the Plague Priest is still around, getting some Plague Monk summons down, and another Fermented Fungi goes off onto the Packmaster, but unfortunately he was not quite at that next threshold, as he is going to stay in control of himself, but he does get the Tormentor Sword popped on him, so that's minus 24 melee attack and the minus 424 melee defense. Now, unfortunately, he didn't take enough damage to actually rampage there, so that is going to be pretty much a waste of that Fermented Fungi, as the Night Goblin Warboss firing off his boss's loons once again at these Plague Monk summons, but that one is going to be missing. The mobility for the Greenskins, though, were able to push off Poison Mortars, and it's not necessarily the worst thing for the Skaven, considering there wasn't a whole lot of good targets, but they were a pretty good answer to all of the skirmish cav, able to get some nice damage off onto them. But now all of their shots are going to be focusing solely on that Packmaster, who does have a little bit reduction in melee defense from the last patch. Vindictive Glare also going down, but he's getting very low on leadership, and with him getting routed off the field, especially with that shot from the Vindictive Glare, things not looking so hot for the Skaven at this point. Balance power taking a major shift into the Greenskins' favor, as the Spider Hatching is going to be in hot pursuit of that Packmaster, trying to get him off the field. But I think that is going to be just about it for the Skaven. They only really have their Packmaster and their Plague Priest, and that is about it. They do have their mortars back at this time, but they are just so far away, as is some of these Clan Rat Spears. They're just not going to be able to get back into the fight soon enough, and even the Plague Priest doesn't have the best summon and isn't going to be really any help in melee, so that leadership penalty going to be definitely being felt if that Plague Priest does go. Is able to stabilize, does pop the Nasty Skulkers, do pop their Smoke Bomb, though, reducing their speed, and it looks like that is going to be just about it for that Plague Priest. Plague Priest does end up routing, and the Packmaster is getting pretty low as well in terms of leadership. Spider Hatchling come in, but that shot from the Vindictive Glare, I think that's about going to seal it. Point blank range, going to outright shatter that Packmaster, and that is going to be our game. Crooked Moon do pull through for game 2. So let's take a little look at that after battle report and update the scorecard as well. So Alrik does take the series 2-0. And if we take a look at the after battle report here, let's start with the Skaven side. Pitfire's Hellsdeep actually doing some decent work with 800. Unfortunately, losing the Wolf Rats was probably one of the biggest missteps, even though some of them even got, 800 value on those guys, 500 on them. But losing them so early on was definitely a problem. Having that mobility on the Greenskin side instead of the Skaven was very unfortunate, because they weren't able to pretty much keep enough units safe. The Poison Wind Mortar Crews, even though they did very good work, 1900 and 1100, they definitely had a very open pocket at the end, losing all of that mobility. Rest of the troops, kind of take a quick little look through those. Gaven Slaves, Clan Rest, not really expecting a whole lot. Packmaster did some decent work. Plague Priest with its summons was nice, but Throt unfortunately didn't do all too hot either. Now for the forces of Crooked Moon, just kind of go through these bad boys real quick. Not a whole lot of damage in terms of the infantry. It's kind of what you would expect. It is Night Goblins after all, and against Clan Rats, it's going to be kind of a wash. They will win out in that engagement, but I mean, with all that Poison Wind, definitely was not doing them any favors. However, the mobility core for the Greenskins definitely was a lot better on this side. Some of those Night Goblins, Queen Hoppers getting 1,000 value on them. The Durkets Waves getting 1,000 as well, and even the Ragnarok Queen rocking in with 2,200. Very nice work there. Definitely getting surrounded, though, by all the Packmaster, and Throt definitely did not help her survivability. But that initial fear and terror against those Wolf Rats definitely helped there with their abysmal base leadership stats. Night Goblin Shaman with the Vindictive Glares did pretty nice work as well. And then, of course, the Night Goblin War Boss pretty much just there being cheap and getting a little extra damage. Their Tormentor Sword and Fermented Fungi were very helpful as well in that matchup. But that's going to be it for this series. Alrik is going to take it 2-0. And that is all I'm going to have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, have a good one.